Hey, when did you first think, yeah, I could do this full time? Like, was there ever a moment for that, or did you start out as a child knowing that you wanted to be a comic or a comedic actor as your career?
I was a theater major in college. I got a BA in theater, which is pretty much a license to print money. But I moved to Chicago thinking of like, I'm going to do Shakespeare, I'm going to do Sam Shepard, Chekhov, you know. And I was in my college improv group, and it was a big part of who I was, but I didn't necessarily think it would become a career. But all I knew is I wanted to do theater and to act. But then I hooked up with the Improv Olympics shortly after moving to Chicago, studied with Del Close and Sharna Alpern, and this is Chicago, the early 90s, and I just started improvising a lot on as many teams as possible, playing as many times as I could, and this was around the time, like Adam McKay was there, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Stephanie Weir, Rich Fulcher, John Glazer, all the founders of the UCB, like those were the people who were there, but we were all doing it at like a shitty bar upstairs for no one, you know, and there was no path that would tell you this is a thing, you know, and maybe I'm just naive and all those people who are super famous now, you know, had designs of exactly the kind of career that they wanted, but I don't think so. I think they just did it because they loved it too. And I always set like a tiny recognizable goal like right in front of me. If like, well, I'd like to play on the weekends. I'd like to be on one of the Friday, Saturday teams, you know? And then it's like, well, I'd like to be an understudy to tour for Second City. I'd like to tour for Second City. I'd like to be in the ETC stage for Second City. I'd like to be on the main stage for Second City. I want to get the fuck out of Chicago and go to LA, you know? So of like, the next step along the path was there for me, and slowly but surely I got better and better at what I do along the way, and then there's more and more gigs that give you more and more money until I got to LA, and then the whole thing started over again.
Yeah, for me, it's similar in that I was just wanting to be a theater actress, and then realized that doing improv, you can just get up and do it. And you don't have to wait for somebody to cast you. And that was really appealing in the midst of all that rejection of like, I can just get up and do it. And so then that was kind of what set me down that path. And then, you know, ultimately creating my own content. That's very empowering, like these people were saying earlier. Being able to do that, and you always have a say in what's going on, no matter how much money you are not making. You get to choose what you're putting out there and how it represents you. I think that's really important, really empowering.
And easier now, too, which is
easier,
great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still, you're banging your head against the right door. It doesn't mean your head doesn't hurt. It just means you're at least doing it right, you know? If you're making your own content, and it is easier now, it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means it has a better chance of being seen.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's kind of, I view my life in LA as kind of like a twofold thing of like, I have this job where I gotta go out and audition for things and try to get on TV shows and hustle and have magents and anagers, which is very Dr. Seuss thing. I have magents and anagers. But then I have this other thing where I go out and improvise with my wife and my friends for no money, and we have a blast, and it's the thing that is always like my artistic fuel, you know. So I always have this thing that I love to do that will always be there every week, and I always get this thing, which is sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not, which is my day job of trying to go out and hustle and get jobs.
I fell into stand-up comedy. I wanted to act, but I ended up just doing open mic, and you could just do it, so it was easier to. But it's interesting. I say that, and I do stand-up comedy all the time. You know, if there's no week that doesn't go by that I don't try to get up a couple, 3 to 4 times a week. But I know actors who are like that, and I know writers who are like that, who are actors and writers, you know? When I meet someone in Los Angeles and they say I'm an actor, and like if somebody said, "Are you an actor?" I would say, "I'm willing to act. I'm not willing to do it." Like the actors that I know, they fucking act. They find like just a bunch of people and they put on a show. And they take classes all the time. They do dinner theater. They'll do whatever they want if they get to play someone. They want someone to pour a script into them more than anything. The same with improvisers and the same with writers. I mean, I have a friend who writes every day and he submits, and that's what he wants to do. And I've said this before, I've always wanted to write a novel. But I don't want to write a novel. I want to have written a novel.
I loved your novel, by the way.
I remember Stephen King's book, Danse Macabre, which he has an essay about the writing process, and he said the number one thing that people say to him at cocktail parties is, I've always wanted to write. And obviously for Stephen King, like writing is like something of like he gets up and just shits out a novel, and like he needs to do it every day. It's a need, So I think number one is you have to have this need to do that thing that you love, or the thing that must come pouring out of you.
Even it's quilting, Sure. I mean, I know people who are like, I hate quilting, and then other people. But they want to quilt, like quilts are so beautiful. They're like, I have a friend who, it's a weird analogy, but I have a friend who wants to quilt, but she hates quilting because it's a lot of work. Yeah. It's a lot of math. It's a lot of geometrics. There's stitching. I don't know, but
quilters got a quilt.
Amen.